I did.
Okay.
I did text Joe to see if he wanted to join. I definitely value his input on various things. I don't know if he can or will, but so we haven't done this in a while. We kind of got a roadblock thrown in front of us. We spent our time and whatever efforts to look at 3 different proposals, and we had this vision that we had $100,000 to spend, and turns out we don't. So what we have in front of us now is a vendor that we chose, and we also have a reduced scope that we can look at together for a couple minutes, and then we can look at a proposed schedule that they have. I kind of just wanted to talk it through for 15 minutes before they jump on, so that if we want to write down questions or things that we want to address, so we don't incur too much expense with their time. I think tonight we'll just kind of be higher level look at stuff and trying to just formulate a plan what we're going to do. So Meg, I guess, I'm sorry I jumped the gun. I would ask you to call the roll.
Sure. I could just Mr. Mortimer.
Present.
Mr. Cater
Present.
with coffee, and Mr. Cush.
I am here.
Thank you.
You missed
Now,
one.
is Joe
Who did I miss?
Castagnoli?
Castiglione, Mr. Castiglione.
Castagnoli.
Consigliere.
Ah,
Well, I
wait.
can see that he's not here. but
Oh, wait, 1 second. But you
Is
normally-
he?
Yeah, you have to call the roll anyway, because it's everybody.
What, I understand that, but yes.
But now,
Mr. Castagnoli apparently has joined us.
magic,
Wonderful.
magic.
So
Okay,
we
Joe,
are-
your ears
present.
must have been twitching. We were talking about you.
Yeah, we were taking the roll, and you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted still, Joe. Yeah, there we go. Welcome.
Thank you.
So just wanted to I'll say again what I just said is, thank you everybody for being here, and we are just getting back at it. We spent time and effort trying to pick a consultant. We thought we had about $100,000. Turns out we don't. So we have I think about a $40,000 budget, and we have a reduced scope of work from that vendor that we chose. And we also have a kind of a Gantt chart or a schedule. I did want to meet for a couple minutes before they pop on, so that we could review that scope, and if we wanted to prepare any questions for them, or I don't know, just talk amongst ourselves a little bit about the process and about any issues that we feel we should be addressing. So anybody could just pipe in whenever they want. If no one wants to just jump in, David, if you want to put up yeah, I mean, I don't know if you need anybody to read it, or we just want to take a minute.
Where's the major hit coming from, do you think? That we lost?
The dollars?
Yeah, I mean, what did we lose? we
In
lost half of our
terms
budget?
in terms of the scope.
Yeah,
David, can you address that?
Yeah, a lot of what's listed under sort of number 1, the organizing, scheduling, coordinating of public outreach, the producing and conducting of surveys, the coordinating and documenting meetings, the producing of the mapping, collecting and synthesizing supporting data, and providing narrative content.
everything then.
So pretty much, yeah, everything. They're going to basically provide us with guidance on certain topics as we need it. They're going to attend, 8 meetings. They're going to, take all the information that we put together, and I've started, updating, the information based on what the subcommittee has said previously in the current plan, and that'll be sent to them. And ultimately we'll have a new document that'll have a new look and feel. But since this committee has said that for the most part, the current document we have is actually still good and is still relevant, what we're going to be focusing in on are the things that just need to be updated, that have changed over the last 10 years. But, basically the bones of what we have are good. And what we're going to be doing is, really an update. We're going to be doing basically a light update of what we have. And that'll meet our statutory requirements. And we'll be able to sort of do that, all within the budget and within the time we have to do it.
So does that mean we're gonna do the surveys? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, the question is,
We meaning David.
right.
It's staff's, responsibility. I mean, we can obviously provide direction. And I think that, if we have 8 or 9 meetings, we're going to have like a unit price, and we could probably have a little bit extra money if we need it. But if we're well prepared, we can grab the expertise really that we want out of the consultant. So if we go into a particular meeting, this one is just sort of a kickoff meeting, but going forward, if we plan well enough, then we'll have the questions to ask them and give them prompts to come into the meeting with their expertise. That's really what they want. I mean, you don't really need them to put the book together. We don't, I mean, well, they're going to, but we want their expertise, not their labor at $2.50 an hour,
Okay.
I think anyway. Anyway, this is what we got. Kind of a bummer that whatever. It's the life of politics, I guess, is that you only have so much money and you got to choose where you spend it. But
All right. So we're gonna update the 2012 POCD. That's
Yeah.
basically what we're doing.
well, and I think that's always what we were going to do, John. I don't think we ever thought we were going to write a new document, because as David said, and I think we've all said it out loud, is that it's pretty darn good. There's a lot of good stuff there. I think it's up to us to, and I haven't taken a dive into it in quite a while, but to look and see what you think is, not relevant, and think on stuff that is more relevant. One thing that's going to happen at the next regular meeting is we're going to get a look at what the state has passed new laws that are going to have some changes for local planning and zoning boards. So we'll be able to, implement some of that stuff into the POCD and maybe in the reg subcommittee too. But
yeah, most of those things luckily are regulation related. Now, it's funny you bring that up, because the state was also working on an update to the state plan of conservation development, but they haven't passed it for like 2 years. So that might have had other changes in it that would have impacted us in the preparation of this plan. But since we've started the process now, we'll be good.
what about SCROD? Do they have a new one, or are we working on their older one?
Scrog may have a newer one, but again, it's it's like a tiered cake. Our plan has to conform to the also the regional plan, which has to conform to the state plan. So they all work together. So and as part of the process is submitting it to the regional the regional planning agency when it comes time, where they're going to look at it for compatibility with their plan and the state plan. And also that's one of the functions that our consultant is going to do as well, just to make sure we're not missing anything that that we should have updated or changed based on changes in the state statutes. But I think we'll be good. And just to give you a warning, he's waiting in the wings.
The what?
Just to give you a warning, our consultant is waiting in the wings to come into the meeting.
Oh, okay. Does anybody want to chat amongst ourselves before we invite him in?
And there's also members of the public here, so also keep that in mind.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Well, then I would say let's invite him in.
Hello, Adam. Hi, Adam.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
Hi, Adam. How are you?
Good. How are you all doing?
Good, good. Are you still at the office or do you have a backdrop?
This is a backdrop. I am comfortably at home.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So we just sort of had a quick conversation that about the history of our going out for an RFP and finding out that our budget was not quite what we thought it was, and that you guys had kind of value engineered it and come up with something that that the city can afford to pay, which is always a good thing to pay your bills.
Absolutely.
And so sort of, I would like you to take over and do sort of just give us a higher level overview of how you see the process, and then we can just have a conversation. Anybody can pop up a question whenever they feel like it.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe David, you might want to start out a little bit to sort of give a sort of overview of where you're at and sort of where you're going, and then I can sort of fill in a little bit on
Sure.
our role
So,
in this.
yeah, we actually touched a little bit before you were here.
Got
you
it.
know, and what I've been doing is I've been going back, looking at the minutes of our subcommittee meetings, because certain items have been looked at, some very much in depth by the committee, and there were recommended changes to the current text that I'm in the process of writing up, and I'm doing it in the order of the book, because that's basically what the committee did. We sort of just went in chronological order. Oh, here's the first section, here's the second section. So I'm updating things where I can, and and as I'm doing that, I'm going to we have to sort of discuss, do I bounce the changes that I've written off of this committee first before I send it to you, or do I just send it to you? And then obviously, as we're going through this process, as time goes on, we're going to be getting more public input for things. So I'm sure there are members of the public that are going to have specific issues about specific sections of things that they think should be added to enhance the plan, or something we haven't considered. But and then we can update those, incorporate those changes if the committee decides that's a good thing.
Yep.
And so I've basically just sort of started that. I'm going to say I'm up to page 30. And as I'm going through the book, I'm also working with our GIS people, because they're going to be the creators of the tables and maps, the updaters of the already existing tables and maps that we have.
Yep.
So so they're working on that. And it's interesting, the very beginning of the book, the first chapter talks in general terms of the character of various areas of town, and the corridors and what they do. So I'm reading this, I'm going, wow, I'm really rewriting that, because things have changed more than we ever would have thought when we talked about commercial corridors. And oh gee, there's just and now we still have these commercial corridors, but we don't have the development that we had. And obviously, people's habits have changed, and it really begs the question with the emphasis in commercial corridors for when people think commercial, they think basically retail. Is that still relevant?
Right.
When I also see a trend, and you'll be able to tell us more in terms of trends. I'm seeing a trend with medical uses. We are getting all these medical clinics and other personal services that are going in what we thought, hey, we're retail corridors. So we must have in Milford now on Route 1 probably 4 or 5 of these walk-in clinics. and
Yep.
and they're all affiliated with hospitals, and that I don't understand. I don't understand how Hartford Hospital, or why Hartford Hospital would have a clinic here in Milford, in the city where, Yale New Haven, who's taken over Milford, has facilities, but then you have stuff from other parts of the state also. So it's, again, I don't.
Well, I will tell you, David, if you can figure out how the American medical system works, retire from your job, go out and make $1 billion, and then, write us from your yacht in the Caribbean, as it would be. I think there are some, in all seriousness, there's some driving points behind some of this, and real causes for that. A big part of it being, the demand for essentially cheaper access to healthcare, and not having to do go into the hospitals and sort of incur bills that way. But what I sort of think makes a lot of sense, and you raise this question about sort of where we plug in on this. I think what sort of you're illustrating here is exactly the role that we can play. So, as you sort of work through the chapters, I think it's worth, sort of identifying points that say, hey, we'd really love some insight into this point. And, you and I can kind of touch base on those things in advance of meeting with this group. And so we sort of have a sense of what it is that is, sort of up on the plate, but then, we can work with this group to make sure that you all are comfortable with that as a sort of scope of work that FHIA is taking on, and we will sort of move forward with that. And then, David, as part of that process, we will obviously be needing to review whatever you're putting together in order to sort of understand the context there. And so at that same time, we can sort of, maybe point out some things back to you and say, hey, have you thought about this? Or, maybe we would suggest that you investigate this a little bit more. Or maybe, just something as simple as, hey, a map about this would be really helpful in this section. And that's where we can bring some of our, quite frankly, just our experience writing these plans and putting them together, and understanding what the different departments are going to need and what the different state agencies would like to see in there. Because I think it is important to remember that your POCD governs your work, but it is also a tool that you all can use to go out to look for funding. And it's a way of you all of justifying projects that you want to do to larger, government entities and partnering organizations. So we can kind of help navigate that as well. And that's where I sort of see, our role throughout this whole process is, providing strategic guidance at certain places, and where appropriate, doing work in that, on those elements. I think, David, sometimes that will be like, hey, here's some suggestions about where to go look for this information, or here's a couple of, for example, planning articles that talk about this topic, and you can really pull from that. And sometimes it'll just be easier for us to spend a couple of hours doing some writing or putting together, a map or two based on the work that you've done. And, our work really flows from there. So I'm just looking at the, and I can share my screen here really quickly. This is sort of our work that we've been contracted to do. So, in task 2, that this is these meetings that we're going to be a part of. So we'll continue to be involved in this. We're going to help with the review of the regional and the state POCDs. Part of that is just we have a fair amount of familiarity with that, especially Francisco and Rory. And I apologize, neither one of them were able to attend tonight's meeting, but you'll be working a lot with Rory as well. And she's done a lot of work on this POCDs, and will be able to sort of really help with this review process. And then as David, as you sort of noted, there's going to be, public input that's going to be coming in as part of this process. And one of the things that FHI does very well is not just the public engagement work, which we're not going to be doing on this, but also the processing and interpreting and understanding it. And I think one thing that we can really help here too is guide you and give you some direction on sort of how to do some of that public engagement, what kind of the questions that you want to ask. And, mostly being a resource for you all is, hey, we were thinking about asking these questions. Would you have any suggestions along the way? Or, hey, we've put together an idea for this meeting. Do you have any input on, this? Or have you ever done something like this before? What do you think we should do here? And then the last, big work that we'll be doing is sort of document management and production. And that will really be laying out the work once it's been produced and creating a document that's attractive and easy to use and understand and follow. But that's really going to be the last step in the process. It will really come after we've, in a lot of ways, finalized, a chapter and determined that, hey, this is the right way to go. Then it just becomes sort of putting that into a format that people can understand and use. So, I'll be working a little bit, David, with you to kind of kick this off and to figure out what's the best way to share information and pass things back and forth and get that ready. But I really see us as the guide in this and providing sort of strategic support along the way.
Like a Sherpa.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit like that, exactly. But don't forget that your Sherpa has to carry some of the weight too. He doesn't get to just carry along the way and point you where we go. And so we'll be there to help out.
Great, thank you.
Adam, are you going to be our main project manager for you guys on this project?
Yes, I will be your main point of contact with you on this. And then you will also be seeing a lot of Rory. She will be on this as well. And then I will be sort of pulling Francisco in at appropriate moments where necessary. I mean, he has a very extensive understanding of the sort of POCD world, and I think will be very useful to use strategically at points. But he also has because of all that, he's got that nice high billing rate. So we're going to try to use him strategically so that we're not burning anything that we don't otherwise need to.
Well, that makes good sense.
Yeah.
Does anybody have a question for Adam or want to contribute to what they think our next steps are? Yeah, Joe, please. Can't hear you. Nothing yet.
You are unmuted, Joe, so that's good. So it's just something else. There you go.
No.
Can't hear you.
You still can't hear me.
Now we
Now we
can.
can.
Okay. Task number 4, FHI Studio will review public input received. Will you be reviewing tape recordings of public sessions that we have? Or will you review those recordings?
Yeah, I think, we're going to have to figure out the right level of input to get the right information. So if there are, recordings or, stakeholder meetings where it's like, hey, we really want you to listen to this. This is, really critical. That's great. I would encourage you all as much as possible to be, bringing together sort of summaries or key points that come out of those, so that you're not using our resources to do that. But absolutely, we're happy to plug in where appropriate on that.
So does that mean you won't be at any public meetings?
So I don't know where I mean, to be kind of clear on this, what we have really said is that, we've kind of got this budget and we're going to try to work within this framework, within that budget. So I think that's going to be a little bit up to David and then us to have conversations about where the best use of our time is. And if we really feel like, hey, Adam, it's important to be here, we really need you to listen to what these people are saying, then I'm there. Like I am at that meeting and we're doing it. And if you guys are like, listen, I know Sandra, she'll ramble on for an hour and a half. Don't even worry about showing up. I'll summarize the notes and kick it to you at the end. Then we'll take that, right? So it's really going to be a working relationship with, David and then you all to determine the right spot.
Sure. Yeah, obviously the budget is of concern and we kind of got blindsided, so certainly appreciate that.
But I do want to reassure you that my feeling around this is that it is a tighter budget. Our scope has shifted a little bit, but I think we can still bring a lot of value to this. And I think at the end of this process, working very closely with David and you all, we can get you a very good POCD out of this process. It's going to be a little bit different. It may take a slightly different, path to get there, but I think we're going to be able to get there. So I don't want you to feel like, oh man, the budget shifted and boy are we, up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. I don't think that that's the case. We wouldn't have agreed to participate in this way if we didn't think we could get you a good product.
So I guess one of the takeaways then is that when we do have a public meeting, that we take copious notes and then filter them down to what's worthy of input.
Yeah,
from FHI.
Yeah, and one of the things that we can sort of help a lot on here is thinking through those public meetings and thinking about what's the best way to sort of organize them and run them in a way that you all can do that easily. And we have a lot of experience doing that and have provided a lot of sort of that top level engagement direction to other consulting teams, to other municipalities, that we can kind of guide you through that process in that way. And it's sort of funny, on a little bit of a side, we are I'm working on sort of a side project where we have actually hired another consultant to help us with something. And so I am in your position where I was like, oh, maybe we can do this at a relatively cheap budget. It was like, no, we have no money and we need to use this. So we are also working with them to like find these touch points where they can be, and they've been incredibly helpful. And I like I said, I think we can be too.
Very good. Joe?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So Adam, will you start with task number 3 and review the regional and state POCDs for elements that are applicable to Milford?
Yeah, I think what I'm going to be doing is David and I are shooting back emails back and forth, and what we'd like to do is just kind of kick off, have our own sort of internal kickoff, and walk through the project schedule and identify some of those big tasks. So yeah, I think that will be an early effort that will be
Okay,
getting started.
and you guys are going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's going to be working with David and making sure if that is sort of the first task to do, and it seems like it is, that we get started on that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And after that task is done, then we move on to getting input from the public, from stakeholders.
Yeah, that is the you know what, I'm trying to find the
Joe, I
project.
think one thing is that we are not going to be able to kind of follow. We had a schedule and a Gantt chart of what we were going to address, and then we said, oh, guess what? We get a consultant. Let's not do this anymore for a while. And we lost 4 months. We have to get back on that. So some of our meetings are going to be just reviewing what's in the document now and seeing if we like it or we want to change it. So that's the work that we started. That's the
Right.
work that we're going to have to continue. And
Right.
then as a group, we're going to have to just sort of say, okay, well, these are the points that we want to be touched. Yeah,
Right,
this is
but
yeah,
in the
this is
meantime,
their-
Jim, in the
Yeah.
meantime, he can start on task number 3.
Oh, you're 100% right. You're 100% right, but I
Okay.
still think we have to be the head of the dragon.
Yeah.
We have to run it like we used to, and now we know that we have someone to lean on and some expertise to draw on as, you know, as scheduled, but also as needed. So if we're looking at, sustainability, or if we're looking at infrastructure, or we're looking at whatever's on our agenda that we're going to get back into play with, we're gonna do kind of what we did before, and then we're
Right.
gonna pick and choose where we think we need the most input from FHI. Does that seem to
Yeah.
make sense, David?
Mhm. Okay,
Yeah, and just to let you know, I'm sharing, hopefully you're seeing my shared screen. And, we basically started on, task A and, task B, I'm in the process of doing that and, starting to write these sections. And then obviously there's going to be input that's going to be needed, again, from the board for sections that we either didn't go over before, or maybe something has changed. And then, we're going to, hopefully, work our way down, this basically this calendar to get, to get a document that, is sort of put together by September, and that we can get approved by the end of December.
Yeah, we're probably gonna have more public input than just March.
Right. And it may not, and the public input may not actually happen in March. Again, this is just for illustrative purposes that we put together in December. That public input could be happening, through June, May or June.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So we can extend that out. We can work on this.
Yeah.
I mean, my first piece of advice with this is for David, however you can kind of put it together, have in this group to sort of have a top level outline that kind of identifies what's, in a quick read, sort of what condition each section is in and what's been done, in that section, or what work needs to be done. And it can be, as simple as, substantially complete, needs work, barely started, those kinds of that kind of level of work, because then we can use that as a guide to sort of understand what gaps need to be filled. And then, with the public engagement process, the only thing that I would encourage is that make sure you sort of know where that public engagement input is going to plug in as you're doing, so you sort of know the questions that you need answered before you start that process. Because once you've done it, it's very hard to kind of go back and redo it. So if there are, in the sustainability section, 2 or 3 big questions that have to be sorted out, you don't want to learn that after you've already gone out to people. You want to know that beforehand. And so again, that's where that sort of top level outline of knowing sort of what sections are there, and then in the sections that have holes, like what are the holes that need to be filled? What are the, oh God, I don't, the known unknowns. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like who I'm quoting, but we'll just say the known unknowns as it would be.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing is that the prior planning prevents poor performance kind of thing in planning and executing public outreach. Understand, maybe come up before a meeting, come up with what we hope to get out of it and what we hope to give the public an opportunity to contribute on is fairly well structured, and we can maybe run that by you guys before we do it. If you say, we just did this somewhere else and it wasn't the smartest,
Yeah.
smartest fork in the road to take.
Yeah, I mean-
so why don't we do that, David? Make sure that when prior to public meeting is to create an outline collectively here and look at what we're trying to get out of it, what we're trying to listen to the public about, and then run that by Adam and team to see how best to get those goals achieved.
But having a meeting with a purpose is always good.
It is
Yeah,
always
yeah,
good. I like to start everything out with those public meetings of just, what are your goals? What are you trying? And that's exactly what you're talking about. And, those goals can be as simple as, we want to let people know that this is happening. That's a really important goal. And sometimes just like, your meeting notices do that. And even if people don't show up, you've achieved one of your goals just by letting people know that the process is happening. Sometimes the goals out of that are very specific. They can be things like, we need an answer to this specific question. We need an answer to how do people feel about, to just pull the topic there, all of the new they're not emergency, they're it's slipping my mind.
Urgent care.
Urgent care. What, all, urgent care facilities, what concerns do they have? And then, another important goal that I just don't ever want to lose sight of is sometimes you just want to give people an opportunity to talk about the things they care about. And, you want to give space for people to feel listened and feel like they're involved in the process. So we can kind of help you shape those goals. But yes, if you guys kind of come to the table with an initial idea, then we can kind of workshop them a bit and build on them. And I for what it's worth, what I think makes sense is for all of our meetings, that I come as, prepared as I can to them. So that'll, likely mean sharing those kinds of things in advance with me. So I have some time to review and think about them. Because I don't want to spend any more time on these calls and in these meetings, just getting up to speed. If I can do that in advance, that would be great.
Sounds good.
Cool. So I would say that let's get on track for, we'll pick a date for the next meeting and we will pick up for if there's any questions, more questions for Adam, let's ask him now. If not, let's just go back to kind of planning our own next steps.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else for Adam?
No.
Adam, thank you very much for your time and your input, and we will we have listened to what you said and your guidance, and we'll try to be the New England Yankees that we are and
Yeah, exactly.
protect the
But-
precious pennies.
My last piece of advice, which I see some people on this call are already doing, is it doesn't hurt to have a glass of wine or a beer at the end of some of these things, or maybe as they're happening, and don't work too
Sure.
late. But I'm really excited to be working with all of you on this. I'm excited that we were able to get to this. So look forward to David talking to you hopefully next week, and then going
Yes.
from there.
Sounds good.
All right,
Great,
have a good
thanks.
one.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Adam. So then I would say, let's pick a date and let's pick up where we left off. We're right on that same spreadsheet that we had. We're just going section by section. Maybe we spend a little bit of time on the front end of the next, our own private meeting, not private, but without the consultant, and just review what we have done already, go over some notes somehow. If you could do a synopsis for us, David.
Well, I can give everybody in my opinion, the things that you have done up to now are well documented in the minutes that we have, all of our previous minutes. So
Okay.
you know, and that's what I'm using to update the sections that I'm working on, because I'm using the guidance that you know, everyone came up with. I think it would be important to keep the momentum moving forward, and let me check to see where we left off, like you said, and let's pick up where we left off and do the sections that we haven't done yet.
Yeah, do we have a different Dropbox for POCD
Yeah, I can,
with the minutes in it and everything?
I know it exists. I can update it and send out the link to everyone, make sure everyone has it. Yes, because that's,
Yeah, because I kind of forget where we, you know, what we said and
Yeah.
where we stopped, and
Yeah.
I remember some of it, but not all of it. That's
I was actually working on that earlier this week, because we had it, and I was going in there making sure, okay, well, this is, because I do multiple files. I do a Dropbox, and because that's in the cloud, you know, I like to have a backup elsewhere on our server of the same information, so then we can, you know, have it available in case something happens. And yeah, so I'll make sure that the Dropbox is updated and send out the new links to the board members. And it has everything, I think, that you know, we had produced. You know, it's got the old schedules, it's got the breakouts of the sections of the book that we were doing up to that point. And so yeah, that'll be a great tool to go back
yeah, and probably smart to create a summary of that we can then have for ourselves, and then also to be able to share with FHI, so that they don't spend a lot of time digging back into, you know, minutes, sort of a summary.
Actually, they had done that as part of their proposal to us.
Supposedly.
Well,
We spent a lot of time looking at your existing. So that's
Yeah.
a relative thing. What's a lot of time to some people may not be a lot of time to someone else.
but they did quote our minutes, so I was impressed.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody thoughts and prayers?
Accelerated schedule, can we anticipate more meetings, or what do you think?
You want to do, what do you think? What's your gut?
I think we lost 4 months, we said, so I think probably we should maybe, I'm available every week, but I know that's maybe not possible for everybody, but
You want to try to do 2 a month?
that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, and we aren't as behind as we think, based on our projections from December, if you're looking at the chart. So we're
And
sort
we
of,
do still have a little wiggle room, don't we?
yeah, and we you know, we're basically here at A and B, which it was, you know, mid-January to, you know, mid-February, end of February. So we're making progress. So we're actually kind of on schedule here. So let's see what C, finish board review. So yeah, so right now, finishing the board review. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. Let's finish the board review, and we schedule that to be finished by March. So if we do it, if we have, you know, a couple of meetings a month, you know, maybe one more meeting this month, and you know, 1 or 2 meetings next month, you know, we may be done with those sections. I mean, you know, I have to refresh myself to see how many sections we've completed, but yeah.
All right, well, I have 3-4 meetings, I think that'll do it. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, let's do that then. Is Wednesday? We have the regulation subcommittee is next Wednesday, correct?
It is, give me 2 seconds. I have to look at my online calendar here. Hold on. Let's see here. Give me 2 seconds. We have, it's the 20, I think the 23rd. Yeah, the 23rd is the regulation subcommittee. I haven't even put it on my calendar yet. I've got the folder for it. I've started. But yeah, it's the 23rd is the regulation subcommittee. So,
Okay, so,
and then next week, we have a meeting on the 15th. That's the regular planning and zoning board meeting.
so does anybody mind having next Wednesday be another meeting?
I'm good with that.
Jim, I don't mind, but could we make it 7 o'clock instead of 6:30? 6:30 is kind of tight for me.
Okay, if that's okay with everybody else.
I
Okay,
don't know.
Okay,
perfect.
so we're looking at the 16th. So 16th, 7 PM.
And we're gonna have a fairly light meeting on Tuesday also.
Okay,
I mean, the alternative would be to call, because these are going to be special meetings. So the alternative would be to call for a special meeting after the meeting on Tuesday, if you wanted to do that, or before the meeting on Tuesday. But based on what Joe just said, he needs it after 7. So the regular meeting would be at 7. And, that meeting,
Probably a half hour.
depending on how much time we spend going over the thing that, did you look at the copy I sent you of the breakdown?
Yeah,
So we're
I
gonna,
didn't go through it, but
so we have one item on the agenda. It's a special permit for rebuilding a seawall. And then we're gonna then talk about the changes that we have to sort of look at for our zoning regulations based on the changes in the state statutes from last year. We could have a special meeting of the POCD subcommittee after that meeting that night. We could say, make it 8:30 to play.
at least it doesn't grab another day.
Right.
right. That's okay. Yeah,
Jim, is that good with you? John?
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
yeah. I mean,
James?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Okay,
so we'll do it on the 15th.
right.
I'll advertise that for 8:30. Does that sound good?
Um,
I could do it for 8. I mean,
I'm pretty sure 8's fine.
okay, so
Yeah.
8. Okay, 8 o'clock POCD.
And
And
we'll, and just like if you could get us,
I'll find out where we left off.
get stuff to us before the weekend, so we have time to,
Yeah.
over the weekend to look at it.
Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll do what we did up to this point. We'll identify the sections that we have to look at. I'll pull out those sections from the book and send them to you separately. And then, depending on how much time you want to spend on each section, you'll have them. And then I'll give you an update, that night, or, I'll throw in something in the email saying, hey, look, we worked up to this point and now we have to do this.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay,
Just to let you know, there is a raised hand from a member of the public. I don't know, Mr. Chair, if you want to entertain them commenting or not. That's up to you.
I would ask them to send a question. We haven't advertised it as public input, so if they would just send you an email with any questions or comments, and then you can share it with the board.
Okay.
I'm just, worried about the way we advertise the meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so motion to adjourn, I guess.
So moved.
Okay, without objection. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
You're welcome.
Have a
Good
good
night,
night, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, have a good night, everyone.